Pemirsa, terima kasih Anda masih bersama dengan kami dalam Perspektif. Dan kita akan lanjut membahas lebih dalam dengan topik Artificial Intelligence. Well, Prof, previously we've talked about so many things regarding artificial intelligence. But in your opinion, can artificial intelligence act morally?
In my opinion, not.
Yeah.
First of all,
opinion,
we must define what is moral and what is ethic. Moral is something very individual. In my opinion, AI cannot have an individualistic status, so moral is anyway not possible. But if we talk about ethic, then we can decide what is ethic. Yeah, ethic is something which is value loaded but rather pluralistic. In my opinion, it is very difficult because even if we load the law with ethic and program the AI to comply with law, then we have application of rules. But the application of rules always need a certain flexibility for the situation, and this is maybe not possible if AI applies law. So in my opinion, not. But there is the theory of certain philosophers that artificial intelligence can have an ethic of its own, a separate ethic from the human. So a different kind of ethic, which is in my opinion very dangerous, because if we have a different ethic and we not the same ethic, then it is possible that we delegate certain decisions to these artificial intelligence systems, and then later the human being or the government who does this delegation is not the one who is responsible for what happened, right? This is dangerous. Yeah. And this is why I not agree with that opinion that there is a separate ethic. Or something is integrated in the ethical system of the humanity or not. But we cannot say there is this ethic and this ethic follows other rules than the ethic of the human. If that is the case, we should not accept that, in my opinion.
Well, but is it legally possible to give a kind of status to this AI product? So for example, like if I'm not mistaken, Sophia has its own nationalities.
This is marketing, in my opinion, pure marketing. Yeah. From the point of view of the civil law, we must come closer to this topic more pragmatical. For what we should think about giving AI a legal personality or legal subjectivity. First of all, we must know the purpose for that. The purpose could be that we have entities acting in the society, acting in the market, and we want to make liability. Liability of this entity can only be if this entity has duties. So we should make this entity maybe a subject, then it has duties, and then it can be liable. Or we want to make contracting of these entities. Contracting is only possible if the entity has a contracting power, and the contracting power it can only have is it a legal subject. So this could be a reason. And also the same happened to other aspects of damage repair and also copyright. Maybe you know this monkey which made the selfie in the forest, and then the question was whether this monkey should have the copyright or the photographer who forgot his machine or his equipment in the forest. Can the monkey have the copyright? This is a question of whether you want to make the monkey a legal subject or not. And this is the background. So we must decide about how we can make it a person, and is it necessary, and should we do it?
Well, we've talked previously again about the e-person that is being discussed in the European Parliament. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, yeah, the European Parliament was, I think, 2 years ago suggesting to the member states of the European Union to regulate an e-person, obviously for pragmatical reason, because they see the need by the development of that. There is two ways how we can make it in the construction. One way is to just make a legal fiction. So the legislators decide, let's regulate the e-person. You could also regulate the protection of these flowers, because you just decide so. Positivistic decision of the legislator. Or we regulate just as a reaction to the social reality that there must be a protection in the form of a legal subject. For example, if we say that intelligent monkeys or dolphins should be more protected, we can say there is a philosophical, ethical background because they have a certain intelligence, they have a certain possibility to feel something, so why not make that? In my opinion, AI can only be a legal person in this fiction. So we can only say, let's make it like this. But there is no philosophical background for giving it a personality. Why? Because artificial intelligence cannot feel and it cannot wish. So this is something very substantial for the humanity. So everything we have in a moment as a legal person has this basis. The corporation has the basis of the will of the members and of the founders and of the board. The foundation has the will of the founder and of the board. Artificial intelligence has no will. There is no human background. There is no humanistic fundament for making this personification. So in my opinion, only the way of the fiction would be possible, and I would not follow that way, because I think there must be a realistic and a sociological background for making a legal person. So I don't agree. But the parliament is, of course, referring to this kind of just legislative way to just regulate it for a pragmatical reason, in my opinion.
But is it possible to instill some kind of emotions and also human way of thinking to this artificial intelligence product?
Well, that you should ask the IT guys. Okay. So as I know, in a moment that is not possible, and many of them say it is maybe never possible. Maybe we have stronger developed AI, but of course we will have. But maybe the kind of processing something is totally not comparable to the feeling or the emotion of the human. Maybe this is very human and will still stay human. To feel and to have emotions and these things. And I'm not so sure whether the humanity can really accept that. Because if something can have emotions, then it can be afraid of something. Yeah. And what would happen if an electronic system is afraid of being switched off? It will fight against us. Yeah? So I don't know, maybe this is a paradoxon, AI and emotion, and we should never maybe solve that a paradoxon. This is science fiction in a moment. We are far away from that emotion of AI. Sophia has no emotion. And Sophia is just reacting to you and can simulate something. And then you feel good with that. If it reacts to emotion, it is already a lot. You can use it for helping people. You can use it for helping elderly people. But it's already done in a certain way in Japan nowadays.
But do you think that we human nowadays have to give the needs to have to give civil rights to this artificial intelligence, because this product is so much more than just an electronic or technology, because if I'm not mistaken that it learns your pattern better as we use it frequently.
Well, this is the phenomenon of it. I mean, you can say it is very clever, it can do a lot of things, it can be very useful, but you should not never forget the philosophical and human rights basis of everything. Yeah? Even if it learns, it is exactly the point of view, by the way, of IT guys. The IT people say often, our systems are perfectionizing themselves, they're learning very effective, they're gathering information, they can make something out of the information, they can help people. But this is not alone an argument. This is an argument for a law which is loose and separated from its philosophical and human right basis. But in the end, the law is instrument, it's an instrument of the humanity. And as the ability to learn and to make strategies and to develop something is not emotional, it has not the humanity basis. And if it's not have the humanity basis, we must decide about, do we want to have this analogism to the human or not? If we accept that and we say, okay, then it cannot feel, then it cannot have a free will, then nevertheless we use the law and apply it to them and give it subjectivity, then we must make a very wide analogy. And this wide analogy must decide and must explain where is the philosophical basis for it. Yeah? If we do it this, then we break the rules. And then we have a lot of more analogies maybe in the future, and then we have no, anchor in the human dignity and in the law. For me personally, maybe I'm too conservative in that, but for me personally, this is a dangerous development. I would not go that way. I would rather go that way, that we use the philosophical basis and keep the philosophical basis and then develop something in a more agent theory or something like that.
But in reality, has there been any law that actually been applied to control this AI situations?
Very difficult in the moment because it's a very new phenomenon. In Germany, we have the case that German airline Lufthansa in 2016, the concurrent of them go bankrupt. It was Air Berlin. It was the leading one of the leading companies for the domestic flights, and suddenly German airline Lufthansa raised the prices around 30% for all domestic flights. Suddenly, the antitrust authority was investigating this case, and then German airline Lufthansa argued, we did not behave antitrustful, we did not behave not compliant with the market rules, because it was our algorithm observing the market and reacting to the market. So you see here already, there is already the need for applying the law. So what the authority did was to try to apply the antitrust law to that case, but it could not so easy apply it yet, because it is not clear, is this really antitrust behavior? Is that at all behavior? And how we arrange the responsibilities. This is now discussed, and maybe we will have a new legislative step in the next future to include this kind of artificial intelligence behavior into that market law. But in the moment, we are not ready for that.
Okay, so now that artificial intelligence is capable on doing those kind of things, and if they break any law, so it means that they did not comply and have responsibility to their own fault. So it is purely the company's fault and the technician's fault, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you see this phenomenon actually being applied in the real world?
In the civil law and in the tort law and the business law, we can handle that in a moment in a way. There is instruments for that. Even if we don't regulate an e-person. If we not regulate an e-person, we will have always to make some human being responsible for the acting. And there is certain approaches like the agent theory, which handles the AI system like an agent of the company, or make an analogy to the employee of the company. So if you use it, then it is acting in your interest, and then you are responsible even if you're not personally guilty. In the tort law, we have the opportunity to use certain strict liabilities. So we don't bind it on the personal guilt. We bind it on the domination of the item. So you can switch off, right? So you have the responsibility to switch it off or switch it on. The German government is checking out whether we can give the companies the duty to make the AI compliant. And if they cannot prove they made all for making it compliant, it can be that the company is responsibility without any other burden of proof for the government, or for the damaged person. These things can be done already. And the other way is to regulate this e-person, and then we must talk about liability assets and control. But even without that, we have certain instruments yet. For example, if the AI make a contract, in the moment this is just anticipated contracting by someone using it. You program the AI to make a contract in a certain situation. This is an anticipating contracting decision, right?
Yeah. Sorry, sir, I'm gonna have to cut you there, but we're gonna continue this after the commercial break. Pemirsa, jangan beranjak terlebih dahulu karena perspektif. Habis ini kita akan membahas mengenai hukum-hukum yang mengatur artificial intelligence. Jadi tetaplah bersama kami dalam perspektif.